And hello, welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. I'm Alex alongside my best friend Zack, who
Hi.
I just had to take the reins from of the podcast because we started initially and he was kind of too grumpy and just not in a good mood. So we had to start over.
There are slanderous statements being said about me right now.
We have a great vibe going on with that intro music. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the Daytona 500, the Great American Race.
The
Zack.
Great American Race! Yay! The pinnacle of stock car racing! Oh my god!
Yes! Let's go.
This is the biggest race of the year, Alex. I mean, because we are primarily NASCAR, this is the biggest race of the year. It's a huge deal. Everything we talk about today is so important. Very important.
It's all going to matter. Yeah.
It matters.
So we're going to talk about the Daytona 500. We're going to talk about William Byron going back to back. We're going to talk about some other things. We have a lot to discuss. There's some things I'm probably going to cut that I have in our document here.
There is a lot.
We have a lot to talk about, so
There's
we're
a
going
lot
to
of
get right
Patreon.
into it.
We got a lot of Patreon mailbag to get
Yeah.
through too. So you guys,
Thank you to all the
gave us some
Patreon
content.
people.
We're never going to cut
Patreon-
that.
No, the Patreon mailbag segment. Thank you guys for helping out
Yeah.
with that. You guys have
It
a
makes
lot of
me-
takes on the Daytona 500.
It makes me feel less alone in my spicy, hot, in my grumpiness actually, because some of y'all are grumpy in there, which is exactly what I need.
Before Zack gets grumpy again, I do want to say that Daytona 500 did have a good middle run of the race, I would say. I know there was the fuel saving. I think it's more fun than the train racing. I didn't mind the train racing either. But look, I know they're not racing, but I thought it was still like kind of fun to watch. It's like, oh, the strategy. What are they going to do? I know. It's not the best, but
my problem is that we never got the payoff from the fuel strategy. I don't mind fuel
Yes,
strategy.
I
I
agree.
actually find it really interesting, but we never got the payoff. We never even had a green flag stop in the race, and that's the whole point of the fuel strategy.
And Zack, we were so close to having that because at around 40 to go, there was this caution. NASCAR said it was for debris, but to me, it seemed like it was just NASCAR said that they didn't want to have fuel saving, is what it seemed to be.
Yeah, that's fishy to me. Like, is this 2015? Like, are we just throwing cautions for fun
Some
now?
people said that because the DVP rule, damaged vehicle policy rule, is kind of reverted back to how it was originally, that you're going to have debris falling off cars. Maybe, but it's like, show it to us. Maybe that's on Fox. I don't know. But it could be.
It probably is. They're too busy talking about Wendy's.
But at the same time, this was disappointing. I was getting really excited to see green flag pit stops. This is going to determine this race. But we get the caution. So I was like, okay, that sucks, but like, whatever. And they get back going. This is when it really starts to intensify. They're actually racing now.
It was good racing. That was some of the best next-gen super speedway racing we've seen. And I think, people definitely noticed the difference in the racing yesterday. I think some people were still fuel saving in that last run. I mean, we know William Byron was really close on fuel.
Kyle Busch was told to save fuel.
Yeah. But because if they're going full out, I think they're still probably just 2x2. But also, it's the Daytona 500. And I think that's the difference between comparing it to just like the fall Talladega race, for example. Because in the fall Talladega race, you get playoff guys who are like, I'm in the top 10. Thank God. I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not making a third lane. Hell no. Right?
Yeah.
But the Daytona 500, everyone in that wants to win that race. It is literally you're trying to go for the win. So I think that makes a big difference in the racing as well. We definitely saw that make a difference yesterday. But yeah, that debris caution, as soon as the debris caution came out, I have this final stage Daytona 500 kind of bubbly anxiety I get every year. It's one of my favorite feelings in racing. And I did when that debris caution came out, it was so deflating. I was just like, I know I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And yeah,
even before that, the end of stage 2, that was probably the peak of the race for me, was when Blaney really set up Austin Cindric. And I told you that it was practice for the end of the race. Obviously, that didn't happen.
When you said that, didn't I say, like, girl, they're going to wreck. Don't make me laugh, Alex. They're going to wreck. Stop. I've seen this before.
But that was a lot of fun seeing Blaney push Cindric way out ahead, and then he made the pass on him right at the line for the stage win. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. But don't really get to see the payoff for it. But around 15 laps to go, this was kind of where things kind of fell off the rails.
Can I paint the picture?
Go
we
for it.
have we have Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney, and was Kyle Busch there and Austin Dillon? I
Mhm.
mean, first I saw pairs of teammates lined up, right? And Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin and John, like the Toyotas starting to get in the middle lane and stuff. Like when I saw Denny up there with a bunch of Toyotas, I'm like, girl, it's getting real. You
And
know what I
by the
mean?
way, where was Denny all race? He did the
Chilling in the back.
strategy he does all the time. He was staying in the back.
His
Yep.
Atlanta strategy, but he knows the Daytona 500. He's like, oh, they're gonna wreck, and he was right. But my thing is, Corey LaJoie was trying to kill everybody in those top lanes. I mean, absolutely. Ricky Stenhouse was leading the outside lane. You know, he won this race 2 years ago. He won Talladega, and Corey LaJoie, he was like, listen, I'm either gonna lead this lane or I'm gonna get wrecked, and he was ready to do either. I'm glad Ricky practiced patience. Maybe that's why Ricky had no patience for our next topic, because Corey LaJoie spent all of Ricky's patience.
And Zach, I had texted you that Corey LaJoie, Ricky Stenhouse, Joey Logano lined up was a recipe for disaster.
Oh
They're
my
going to
God.
wreck.
That
And then
was
not even 2 minutes later, they wreck, right?
yes.
So this happens. Uh, Logano saw his Penske teammates on the bottom 1 and 2, and he tried to fill this hole that was there with Stenhouse up top and with Blaney on the bottom. Kyle Busch was behind Blaney. Tried going in there, but then Stenhouse went to block. It was a pretty late block, and it was there's still a gap there, right? So Logano kept trying to
Technically,
go in,
if gap
but
car,
I think where the bigger problem here is that the Stenhouse did have an opportunity to go back up top. The 42 was a bit back. Stenhouse could have gone back to the top and then let Logano have that spot. But 15 to go in Daytona 500. Are you going to do that?
yeah, you
Probably
are.
not.
No, you are.
In
If
modern
you're
Daytona 500, are you?
yes, they have
I
15
think you should.
laps.
I
They
think
have
they should.
15 laps.
Mm,
That is a lot of time, considering that you are leading the outside lanes and you've made a lot of progress.
yeah,
And listen, I went back and forth on whose fault that was, because at first I was like, oh, that's on Ricky. He threw a really dumb block. But then I looked at it, I'm like, well, it wasn't really it was a late block, but I don't think it was too late. Like, Joey did not have to back out on the initial contact. The problem was Joey kind of bumped Stenhouse up the track a little bit. And it was enough for Joey to think, oh, I can still get in here. I can still fill this hole. And then Ricky came back down, and Joey was like, well, I'm still coming through, bro. It was I feel like it's on both of them, but I
I agree.
really do put this on Joey at this moment,
Mm,
because he had the absolute fastest car of the entire day, and he had a decision to make there. I know he said in his interview, well, I was getting pushed from behind. It didn't really look like
I've
that.
watched that replay so much. I've been arguing with our friend Jackson Todd about this since last night.
Yeah.
He's a big Joey Logano fan. He thinks Logano has no blame in this. I think it's at least partially on both Stenhouse and
Yeah.
Logano. But
I
I
get
think my biggest problem is what you just said. Logano could have not forced the issue and still managed to win this race.
huh.
But if this did work out for Logano, so I do understand it, Penske would have been lined up 1, 2, 3 eventually, and then
Okay.
a Penske car very likely wins this race.
They were going to if he just backs off anyway. I mean, Joey Logano wins that race if he just doesn't wreck himself and his teammate, by the way. He wrecked his
Yeah,
teammate. He got
he
his
did.
teammate
Yeah.
wrecked. That's
So,
unacceptable as a Team Penske driver.
and for Logano, we kind of mentioned it. He had a huge recovery. Like he was definitely the best car in this race early on,
Yeah.
even. And then he has like an engine issue. I guess something got in the engine, and they
The
figured
throttle
it out.
body, apparently, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
plastic bag that we saw.
And then he gets a caution, the first debris caution of the race. He got that lucky caution. He stays on the lead lap, drives back through the field. It was a fantastic drive from Joey Logano.
He
And
was
I think
making
at
some
the
cool
end
moves.
here,
Yeah.
he was just a bit too much in a rush. Because as you said, there's still 15 to go.
Yeah.
And he had the
Because
best car. He could have made this move again later.
again, I don't think Ricky had any patience left. But
Oh,
again, I
no.
still put this so much on Logano, because Logano can see that hole. Like, he can see the hole and how open it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
closed it is. And again, you're a 3-time Cup Series champion. You are driving the fastest car. You just wrecked yourself and your teammate for no reason. And this is the second straight super speedway race where this has happened. because he kind of caused the wreck at Talladega. Now, again, Talladega was more of everyone is slam drafting each other, and that gets into, this package, which we'll talk about later. But this is the second straight super speedway race, Joey. I think it's very fair for people to be critical about him. I understand people like our friend Jackson that defend him because, yeah, listen, if Joey checks up there is a good chance that he's getting ran over and then he gets wrecked, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was, both Ricky and Joey could have practiced more patience in that situation. 15 laps with fast cars like that, when the inside lane is fuel saving, you have more time than you think. But that's really
Yeah.
easy for me to say. So,
Yeah. Because all this that we just talked about, that'll happen within a matter of like 3 seconds, 5
oh
seconds.
yeah, it's really easy
So,
to armchair quarterback it. I'm not trying to,
for
seem
sure.
like, oh, I would have done better, even though I've been practicing
Well,
it on iRacing. I'm
let's
a professional.
armchair discuss this moment because with 5 to go, Cole Custer gave Christopher Bell an awful push. And this also made Ryan Preece go upside down. He was like doing a wheelie. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I
Bro
can't
is playing,
remember.
literally, bro is playing Mario Kart.
Yeah, he was doing
I
Mario Kart.
he was doing the wheelie after you get the boost, and then he hit a ramp. This did a
Yeah.
trick, did the ding, like did the trick, got a boost at the
And
end. I what
so
what okay. Let's start
what
Cole
a
Custer.
bizarre what a bizarre incident here. Priest was thankfully okay.
Yeah, so because
But yeah, Cole
Bell was getting
Custer.
pushed by Custer, and we saw Bell shoot up the track in one of the turns, and I'm like, girl,
Yep, yep.
chill. And then he's still getting kind of shaky down the back straightaway. And then I believe it was like the very next lap when this incident happened. It's just like you saw it coming. You saw how unstable Bell was on the back or on the front of the 41. And I don't know if it was I mean, hey, Cole Custer has not raced these cars at a super speedway in 2 years, over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically a rookie, kind of, right, to these cars again. I mean, that's a long time considering everyone else has learned a lot about these super speedway races, and he's out of practice. And I don't know if maybe he was giving a bad push because you gotta, there's still a finesse to it. These next gen
Yeah.
cars get unstable. You can't just hold I assume you can't just hold the throttle down unless you're like two Fords linked up, right? If you're a Ford on a Toyota, you might have to be a little bit more careful. Maybe Bell's car was unstable, but after what we saw Cole Custer do at the very end of the race, it makes me think that this was Cole Custer being way too aggressive with the pushing, and
I
he
agree.
wrecked more race cars. We didn't wreck enough cars
Well,
yet.
Cole Custer wrecks some more here in a second. On the final restart, it was Denny Hamlin versus Austin Cindric. Again, Denny Hamlin came out of nowhere. He was here only at the end. Austin Cindric was fantastic all race, I think. I think if he would have won, this would have been very deserving. Same for Hamlin. But this final restart, it looked like it was going to be Hamlin versus Cindric. I was actually really engaged and excited during this. I'm like, wow, like the Hamlin's going for 4, Cindric's going for
Dude,
2.
we were watching.
Arguably, these two are top 5 super speedway racers
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
that's
Like,
just
this
what I
is
was going
really
to
good.
say. We were watching two of the best. That's like watching Pato and Joseph at the Indy 500. That's literally what I
Yeah.
felt like I was watching. Right?
Yeah.
We were actually watching a race, and
But
I made this.
then
I made this comparison this morning. It's like if you're watching the Indy 500 and we're watching this duel between two people, and then some clown comes in 3 wide and wipes them all out.
that
Like,
clown being Cole Custer, and I'm going to give Flop of the Week to Cole Custer
well,
because
mm-hmm.
I think both times this was maybe the one where he turned Bell, maybe that was kind of unavoidable. I don't know if it's 5 to go. And maybe it was just a Ford Toyota bodies don't go well. I don't know. But this, Cole Custer peeks out and he gets 3 wide with Hamlin and Cindric. And then he just door slams Denny Hamlin and causes this crash. What a mess.
Did you see Chase Briscoe's on board? Because when I saw that, because the initial contact is with the 19 and the 41. And I think the 41 was going down to side draft, which is, you have to do. And the 19 wasn't exactly in his lane. But again, this is all happening. This is all happening so fast, so close.
Yeah.
No one's giving anybody room. So it could be, I think it could be also on Chase Briscoe a little bit, to be honest. But I do definitely put some blame on Cole Custer because I get making the 3 wide move. I mean, the caution could come out at any moment. We've seen that. Well, I guess not last night.
Yeah, not last night.
But Denny was saying, dude, you got to live to get off turn 4. You still got half a lap to make these moves. You're gonna have a run. Just we see that all the time. Instead of like making it 3 wide, go with the momentum. You know, go
Yeah.
with the momentum. If you're at the top 3 wide, he's probably, I don't even think he had any help lined up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little silly. So I don't know who caused that wreck because that's just the way the racing is. They all get so close together and that's what they have to do. And yeah, they're going to wreck.
Yeah.
That's also, and that's, you know, I was kind of getting to that with the Stenhouse and Logano thing. It's just like, it's hard to even blame anybody because it's just like, what else do you really expect them to do? They're kind of forced to race like this. I mean, it's the Daytona 500, right? Because if they don't get that aggressive with side drafting and pushing, they're going to get passed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of the reality of it, you know?
Well, this crash happens, and William Byron, who was 7th as it was happening, makes it through as everyone else crashes and goes on to win the Daytona 500. Before we talk about Byron, I want to say check out Denny Hamlin's podcast. I'm sure everyone does. But
Who?
like, it's been a very who? It's been a
Who's
very
that?
good. It's been a very good listen so far. I'm like 25 minutes in before we started recording our podcast. Thank you for choosing our podcast, by the way. A lot of podcast content this week, I'm sure, for the Daytona
You made an
500.
interesting
But
choice.
yeah,
Oh
very
my God.
interesting.
Very
But,
interesting. I had to tell.
Denny,
Never mind. Go ahead.
yeah.
No.
No, Denny gave a lot of insight about this and his opinion, and that he would have probably fought Cole Custer if he was as mad as he was this morning
I wish
last
he would
night.
have.
So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there. What are you going to say, Zach?
Someone should have fought over that, honestly, because I was mad too.
I would have not been upset if Hamlin went after Cole.
God, I am so thankful we have someone like Denny Hamlin in the sport because
Cherish it. He was acting like he might retire soon in that episode.
we need someone to speak up. I don't know. I don't want to sit here. I remember last year we did some bonus videos like, oh, we're watching every Daytona 500 finish or the really exciting ones to get ready for the Daytona 500. We're really excited. Coming into this year, I just had trouble getting excited because I knew what was going to happen. And it's just, it comes down to William Byron. And, you know, when we talk about Joseph Newgarden going back to back in the Indy 500, he outdueled Marcus Ericsson one year under weird circumstances. And then he outdueled Pato O'Ward after a long green flag run, working his way back up through the top 5. And it's just, you have so much to dissect there. You have so much to talk about. You know, you're talking about racing. We are here. We are the gay racing podcast, right? We love to talk about racing. There is nothing racing to talk about with William Byron's Daytona 500 wins, either of them for that matter.
No.
Because he just got lucky and avoided the wrecks. Now, I will say there is some skill. He was running somewhat towards the front, but like, how do you define, oh, well, he put himself in position to miss that wreck? I don't think you can say that because he doesn't know where that wreck's going to be. He just happened to be in the right lane at the right times.
Yep.
There's no strategy behind that. Like,
and this isn't like a dig at William Byron because it's like this could have happened to anyone who was in that pack and anyone could have won this race.
He had a fast car.
Yeah, he was up front. He was leading one of the lanes at parts of this race.
He was in position, but he didn't do anything to dodge the wreck that is actually like definable or like you can't define like what again, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing for us to talk about. Be like, William Byron is a 2-time Daytona 500 champion because of skill, because he did something amazing.
Both
there's
times
nothing to say.
It fell into his lap.
Yes, it did.
To me,
and I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's what happened. I have eyes.
To me, this does not add anything to William Byron's resume. It's just a statistic. He won 2 spring Daytona races.
Not the spring Daytona race.
That's what we may as well call it, because this is just another race to me at this point, because it's nothing about it feels special. And that's a shame, because when I was a kid, this was like the biggest of all big races of the year, just in general. But now I was talking to you about this earlier in the week. Like, there has not been a Daytona 500 finish that's been like the final sequences of a race have been enjoyable for me since 2017, and that was the fuel mileage one where Kurt Busch won, and the year prior was the photo finish with Hamlin and Truex.
Iconic.
Every other one since then has been wrecks, NASCAR overtime. There's a fireball, someone almost died. Like, it stupid. this is not what the biggest race of a series should be. Should not be what you consider your Super Bowl. It's embarrassing, quite
It
frankly.
is. I mean, again, I was embarrassed having to talk to my coworkers about that race yesterday because I'm like, oh my God, did you watch it?
Oh God.
Because I didn't like that, by the way. NASCAR fans don't actually like that. Like, it's embarrassing. And people say, oh, well, the 3 wide looks cool and the wrecks are cool, and that gets casual fans in. No, they're gonna look at it for 5 minutes and then go back to something they're actually interested in. Like,
Mhm.
anyone that actually pays attention to the racing should not like that. I'm sorry. You just shouldn't. And I've been kind of thinking that we are in the dark ages of the Daytona 500. You know how,
Mm.
certain events like Le Mans had years, and the Indy 500 has had years where it's just in some dark ages for whatever reason. And I think the Daytona 500, kind of starting with this, this heavy draft package with the really huge spoilers going into the next gen car now. I think we are in the dark ages of the Daytona 500, and Alex, that really saddens me because as a kid, Daytona just had this magic to me. I remember exactly what I was doing when I watched my first full Daytona 500 in 2008. And I saw Ryan Newman win with the help from teammate Kurt Busch, and Tony Stewart got denied again. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. Tony Stewart has been trying to win that race for years and years and years, and he barely lost it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But I still remember the magic of that night. And of course, I was 8 years old. Of course, it's going to be memorable. But
Yeah.
man, the magic for this race, Alex, is completely gone. It is absolute. And it's not, oh, maybe next year will be better. Because that's kind of where I was the last few years. I'm like,
That's where
well,
I
maybe
was. I
maybe
was
next year will
hopeful.
be better. Maybe next year will be cleaner. But no, you can go look back in our podcast. 2023, we talked about, man, great race, but overtime and all these wrecks kind of ruined it.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we had that same discussion last year, and we are having the same discussion for 3 years in a row.
Yep.
And it's just,
So
it's killing me. It's really killing me on the inside.
to go to your point, like, it's
Yes.
very special. Drivers try to win this thing. It took Dale Earnhardt 20 times to win it.
Yeah.
I don't care if a driver wins the Daytona 500.
Kyle Larson, I don't give a single rat's ass if he wins the Daytona 500.
I
And
don't
that's
think it
not
matters.
what I should be saying as a NASCAR fan. Could you imagine if someone in IndyCar said that? I don't care about winning Indy. Now,
Well, that
like,
has never been said, because look at when Joseph Newgarden won his first one. He's like, now it feels like the rest of my career
Yeah.
actually like means something. It's like I actually have completed this huge missing part of my legacy. Like, it matters. The Indianapolis 500 is a huge deal, and your career, no matter how successful you are, if you don't win that race, it does not, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you didn't win that though. Daytona 500, I don't think of Tony Stewart any less because he didn't win that. I don't think of Kyle Larson any
I
differently.
mean, I think
If Kyle Busch or Brad Keselowski do not ever win the Daytona 500, I don't care.
that's a better
It's fine.
example, because I think Tony Stewart, he raced in an era where he definitely had control of his own destiny a lot more than they do now.
That's fair.
I mean, Denny
Yeah.
said it on his podcast. Denny used to get mad when reporters said, "Oh, super speedway racing is all about luck." No, it's not. And you still see at times, we saw Team Penske up front a lot last night. You still see the same players at the front, but where the luck comes in is the wrecks, because the wrecks are happening in the front 2 rows of the pack because
Yeah.
of the bump drafting. Like, so there's literally very little skill left. It is basically all luck. I mean, we still get, the Ricky Stenhouses keep winning, and the Joey Logano. Well, Joey Logano has been winning at Atlanta, really, so that doesn't really count. But I don't know. The Daytona International Speedway is my favorite racetrack in the world, right? It really does hurt me to see this happen to this event. The Rolex 24 did the entire speed weeks and racing better than the Daytona 500. And when we go to Indy in 3 months, it's going to do their little 2 weeks so much better than Daytona is doing. I'm telling you what. And it used to not be like that in my mind. Daytona was above everything, but now it's just, I don't even.
Same.
And you can't, and there's people like, well, you know what? The Southern 500 is now the biggest race in NASCAR.
But
that's not how that works. That's not how that works. We talked about it before.
For the diehards, like me, yeah, The Southern 500 is like the top of the top for NASCAR now. 600's right there
Or the
too.
600 Southern 500, whatever.
But I was
It's
talking to someone about this on Blue Sky. It's like I was saying, like, oh, what is actually the most premier race? And I said Southern 500. There was a discussion, and this person said, but it doesn't have the fanfare. And I was like, you're right. It
and
doesn't.
that's part of it.
600 doesn't either. It's the Daytona 500, but it
That's
does not act like it.
It's our
And
biggest race with some of the
and,
most history. You
and by the
can't
way,
change that.
you could go back to saying Fox Sports doesn't treat it like a big race. Even if Fox Sports treated this like the most amazing event
No,
ever, it wouldn't matter because it's still going to look like a mess.
I
The
can't
actual
blame
product is
them.
not good.
What are they supposed to talk about?
When are they gonna wreck you guys? Like that's basically what it is.
I mean, I kind of get why this doesn't really excuse it, I guess, but I kind of get why they're low energy and like monotone at the end of these races. Because honestly, they're probably just disgusted at what they're watching. Mike
Yeah.
Joy has seen firsthand how this race has fallen apart. Like
Hmm.
it's not like the races he was calling when Fox first started covering NASCAR. Like it's embarrassing, and I know how we can get back. I just know it's not going to happen because NASCAR thinks this is what the fans want or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
literally, just look at.
if
Go
there
ahead.
were like any fixes, it'd be getting rid of overtime and making the cars not have to like run
You have,
nose to
yeah,
tail. But I
you've
don't think
got to
NASCAR
change the
wants to do
car.
that. I don't
No,
think they want to.
you have got to change the car. And I go, well, people hated the bubble package of Gen 6 bubble. At least they were racing, because this isn't racing anymore. This has crossed the line for racing for me because we are just wrecking at this point. And then we'll see who comes out first. Jimmy Johnson finished third, for God's sake. No knock to him, but like he should not have finished third last night. He is not at the top of his game. Like, let's be real with ourselves for a minute, I,
Hmm.
I like, this is just, you need to look at the Indy 500 and everything they're doing. You need to go copy them again, because the Daytona 500 was created because you were copying Indy. You need to copy them again. You need to look at what they've been doing. Because you've gotten off the beaten path a little bit, NASCAR. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. And that I have a bonus video I might do that gets into all that, because it's not, but
Yeah.
you got to fix the cars. You got to change the cars. We can't be slam drafting like this. That's what's causing the wrecks. Denny talked about less drag, less horsepower. Then it's more momentum. But look at what they do on
Well,
Saturday. The Xfinity race. That was great.
And I was just gonna say, like, they keep lowering the horsepower on these tracks and slowing them down, but to try and make the cars not flip. But a car still flipped again, and it was Ryan Preece again.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Like,
It's silly.
I mean, thank God we removed the grass.
Yeah, it kept him from flipping and crashing, right?
Yes, the grass is
It
technically
did
safer.
worsen things, yeah, but
Yes, I get it. So I'm kind of joking, but like, the grass was not the number one problem.
no.
I really do think, and people have been pointing this out, it's that flat underbody. It's literally, there's nowhere for the air to go. Yeah, it's going to lift that car up like an airplane.
Yeah.
I don't think, you have that kind of body on GT cars and a bunch of road racing cars. I don't think it's the best idea to keep doing this with oval racing cars that race at 200 miles per hour that like to wreck every 5 minutes. I just don't think it's a good idea. And
Yeah.
Ryan Preece, I love how he was speaking up last night in his interviews.
That was good.
We can't keep doing this because
Well, this
someone's
man's been through it.
This man is saying, all I could think about in that moment was his daughter.
That was devastating to hear him say that. Yeah.
Are we just waiting for someone to die?
That's been said for so long. I remember Tony Stewart said that in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Like
We have gotten so comfortable.
Something needs to change. Like there's luck. We've been talking about luck a lot. This luck NASCAR's having is going to run out at some point. And I hate to say that. Maybe it's an inevitable thing no matter what they do, but they're not really trying in a lot of ways to prevent it, because the way this racing is right now, where they have to be nose to tail like this, it's dangerous. I'm shocked that we have kept it like this for a while, honestly.
And I thought Ryan Newman was going to radicalize the sport a little bit. Apparently not. So, like, we are just waiting for someone to die. And I was talking about this. I remember when Joey Logano flipped at Talladega.
And he was pissed. Yeah.
I was very mad. I was very angry because I'm like, we can't keep doing this. This is dangerous. You know, because I don't necessarily have a problem with cars flipping. It's just cars flipping at Daytona and Talladega in the frequency it was happening. And I don't know, because
Yeah.
Logano was very close to getting hit by like Bubba Wallace in that Talladega wreck and just getting very hurt.
This wreck did remind me of that Logano Talladega wreck. That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. So, and then also we tore up every single car, basically. And now we're going to go to Atlanta and maybe do it again. Like, for what? Exactly. Thank you. Like, I'm getting too negative. We probably need to move on. Before we move on, I hate coming on here and being negative. I really do. And I apologize if anyone's sick of it. But that's how much this race means to me. That's how much the sport means to me. When I tell you that the Daytona International Speedway is my favorite racetrack in the world, I mean it. This was my favorite race as a kid. My mood was really bad last night. I was depressed. I couldn't sleep. I had trouble sleeping. Like, it was just like, maybe that's dramatic. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but
like Zach, you and I have been to Indianapolis together. We're going to go again this year, and we were talking about going to Daytona at some point, but we're not talking about going to NASCAR. We're talking about doing the Rolex in person. You know what I mean?
God, we have not gone to the Daytona 500, especially this year.
We'll talk about that later.
Jesus.
But yeah, no. So let's move on to a couple other notes, and before we do, actually, don't apologize for being negative, because it's passion. It's because you care. It's not because you're just, I hate NASCAR. It's like you care and you don't want it to be like this. It's important for you to say that.
I did the iRacing Daytona 500 over the weekend. I did like two and a half attempts. I had so much fun on my last attempt because I got to basically put myself in the shoes of one of the drivers. I'm like, this is what it feels like for the sun to start going down, the intensity picking up, the moves are getting crazier. It's time to go. I love that feeling, right? And the pit strategy of it all, too. Like, you got to have a perfect pit stop or you lose the draft. Man, that is racing. That is the Daytona 500. That's what it needs to be about. That's what I want to get it back to. That I have so much passion for that, right? I mean, there is nothing else on earth like Daytona, like the Daytona 500. It is one of the coolest things that we can do as a sport. And we have lost the plot. Quite just simply. We just lost the plot. So I thank you for saying that. I'm very passionate about it.
No, you are, and you should be able to be passionate, be critical of the things you love and enjoy.
And speaking of passion, how about Dale Jr. and Junior Motorsports? Top 10 in their very first Cup start.
The first team on their debut to be top 10s in Stewart-Haas Racing. That's awesome.
So cool.
I loved Dale Jr.'s passion on qualifying night and the duel night. I think that was really cool. When they made it in, Dale was about crying.
Yeah, did you see like Wednesday he was at the track like early, like 6:30, I think. Like he was there.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine being Dale Jr., man. I couldn't imagine being a team owner. Too much anxiety. And Dale Jr., I'm a Dale Jr. fan. Like, it just makes me happy. I might get the little diecast. It was kind of cool.
I really hope Dale can get his team into Cup, because it seems like he just absolutely had a blast. And it sounds like that is what he wants to do long term. This is kind of like dipping their toe into it a bit, trying out the 500.
I wonder if
that kind of passion, I think, is what we need. It was good.
That would be cool. I think it'd be good, especially since NASCAR with the three team limit for organizations. You want to get more teams involved. I mean, you got to have Dale Jr.'s team in the sport, in the Cup Series. He's such a big deal, and hopefully they get the money and partners to do it one day, because that'd be cool to see. That'd be cool to see. And
it was cool for Justin Allgaier after winning the championship to get another Daytona 500 shot. I think it was cool
get a top 10
to be able to do that.
Yeah, great weekend. Well, not great weekend overall for him, because he was being a little bit of a terrorist. He was doing his best Cole Custer impression Saturday night. He was
in Xfinity.
Yeah, in Xfinity. He was
I was like,
when?
Okay.
Sunday, they didn't talk about him much on the broadcast yesterday, which fair enough.
I was kind of surprised, since it's Dale's team. Someone who was terrorized, though, was Elio Castroneves. And
oh my God.
Boy, This man probably wishes he never won that SRX race. If you don't know the background on this, he won the SRX race, and the CEO of SRX is like, "I'm going to help you get a Daytona 500 ride." It almost happened last year, it didn't happen. Came back this year, it did. It's with Trackhouse. He had to use the controversial provisional. We talked about it last week with our guest Tanner Smith in our
Yeah.
predictions episode.
And
Highly
can I
recommend you
say,
check that out. Yeah.
as much as I hate that provisional, the drama around it this week was a little bit too much because it was
Oh yeah.
very
I don't think it was
disrespectful.
that big of a deal.
It was very disrespectful to Castroneves.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
people undermining, oh, but who cares that he won 4 Indy 500s? Most people that pay attention care. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I agree. So he did use the provisional. He did not qualify in on time, and then he crashed in his duel. So he had the provisional. He finished his 39th. He also ran the ARCA race. He was actually running second late. And I was
After getting
texting
wrecked
you
like
during
twice.
this. Yeah. I was
After getting
texting,
wrecked
like,
twice, he made his way up to second, which was really cool.
I thought he was going to win that race for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, that'd be really
That would have been
cool.
so cool.
There was another draft from another line. He ends up finishing 5th, I believe. But then in turn 1, after the race is over, he gets wrecked. Not even his fault.
The guy said that he didn't know the checkered flag came out, the guy that turned Elio. And then he said that his radio wasn't working. Huh? What are we doing? That ARCA race, speaking of sport enders, that ARCA race was quite
awful.
Dangerous. That was a little
yeah.
That was a little much.
I don't know if they need to be at Daytona, to be honest with you.
I get. Do I get why? Well, you don't want people getting into trucks and they've never been on a super speedway before, to be fair. I think that's what ARCA, I feel like ARCA is supposed to be like, yes, this is a super speedway, but you guys have no idea what you're doing. Right? You need to learn as much as you can before you get into a NASCAR truck.
I think with ARCA, I miss when it had like the truck series kind of vibe. Like you had Bobby Gerhart going out there winning these Daytona races like every year for a while.
You had actual veterans out there.
Yeah. I feel like it could maybe like ARCA specific veterans like Frank Kimmel. Like I feel like it kind of misses that kind of vibe, and maybe that would help. But right now, it's not in a good state.
The turnout was cool. At least we had a full field of cars. I mean, that was cool.
Yeah.
It's too bad all of them got wrecked. And there was that Cletus McFarland guy who, listen, I don't watch his content. To me, he kind of seems cringe. But apparently he's really huge, and apparently y'all like him. So cool, I guess. I mean, that's good for the sport. It really is.
Yeah.
But we could talk about ARCA all day. That's not the point of the conversation. But so, Elio, back to Elio. I saw someone say, I think it was on the teardown, that it would have been nice if Elio could have done the ARCA race before his duel.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like
maybe,
ARCA's your warm up, and then in the duel you can actually like use some of the drafting. So because I mean, Elio, what kind of sucks about this whole weekend, and he got wrecked in the Daytona 500 too, he didn't actually really get to learn anything, I feel like.
Am I making this up? Was the ARCA race on Clash weekend before?
Yes, it used to be like.
So it used to be like that.
It used to be at like 5 p.m. before the Budweiser shootout, and absolute peak vibes. By the way, watching that before the Budweiser shootout, peak
I watched
vibes.
it every year. Yeah.
Yes, it was awesome. It was really awesome. And then I think when they got rid of the qualifying weekend, I think they started doing it on Saturday, right? So which you know what? Fair enough. I don't really care. Doesn't really matter. They're gonna wreck anyways.
So to kind of wrap Elio, the whole topic of Elio up, I'm glad he tried. I would love it. I think you sent me something about this. It'd be cool if he tried the Brickyard 400.
Yeah,
I know last year's got a little silly, but Brickyard, he would actually get to race.
He would get to race.
That's a track he knows. And he would actually, like, as you said, get to race. So I hope this wasn't his only one and done NASCAR start. I hope he does something else.
Well, he said he wanted to try like a road course or something.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't even think he's much of a road. Well, no, he's won the Rolex, so I guess he is a road course guy. Just an
he's not known, I would say, for road course.
In IndyCar, he wasn't. In IndyCar, he wasn't that good at road courses, but
I mean, he's won some, but it's not like that's not like his.
He succeeded much
shining example. Yeah.
He succeeded much in the IRL oval dominated era. But before we move on from Elio, I think another reason, the Daytona 500 needs to be about racing again. That's my tagline. The Daytona 500 needs to be about racing. Guys like Scott Dixon that say they're interested, are they really? Because if I'm a
Yeah.
race car driver, do I really want to sign up for the Daytona 500? Because on one hand, hey, I could barely practice and probably get a top 10 and maybe even win, right? Because just about luck. On the other hand, do I really want to sign up for a race where I know I'm going to get wrecked and I know I can't show my skill?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for Kyle Larson in the Indy 500, that's something for him to learn. It's somewhere for him to show his skill. I don't think it's reverse. I don't think an
No, I
IndyCar
agree.
guy's going to be too much interested in doing the Daytona 500 or anyone else from that matter, from
I wonder
whatever
if
form of
for
motorsport.
people like Scott Dixon or maybe Elio Castroneves, if it's the appeal of trying to become the third driver to win both the Daytona 500 and Indy 500.
Maybe.
I wonder if that's what it is. But even then, it's like, is it that
I
impressive
mean,
now? I don't
this
know.
this win isn't even that big to NASCAR fans anymore. So I don't
Yeah.
really care. I mean, and you got it. I don't know. I get that. That's cool, but I would love
Yeah.
to see someone do that one day. Kyle Larson's probably got the best shot.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I think Kyle Larson's winning Indy before he wins Daytona. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's move on and now into our Patreon mailbag. Our
yay!
Patreon friends.
You guys are gonna make me feel better. What do we have today,
Yeah.
Alex?
So first up, this is from Dylan. So it's about Ryan Blaney. Blaney was involved in that crash. We talked about Stenhouse and Logano. He looked like he had the best car again. Dylan says he was pretty heartbroken when Ryan Blaney was crashed. The only way, is what he says, the only way Blaney will win the 500 is if the Daytona 500 regains some sense of integrity and meaning. I
Oh,
sometimes feel I only watch NASCAR for him nowadays, so it's disheartening to think about.
integrity. Good vocab word. Integrity. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great word, Dylan. Yeah, because again, Ryan Blaney, he should have. I mean, he got his ankles broken in 2020, figuratively. Denny Hamlin outplayed him in 2020, right?
Hmm.
But in 2022 was just kind of a mess coming to the line. Cindric door banged him, but now it's just like he can't even get an opportunity to get back to the finish line. Like it's just so sad. Because again, it's
Yeah.
kind of like I want to see Pato Award lose the 500 because he just keeps getting barely beat by somebody, right?
And
Not because he keeps wrecking out
And
or getting caught up in a wreck that's not his fault.
Zach, if we go to Indy this year and Pato Award wins that race, I'll be hype because we've
That's
seen him
that's gonna be
go
cool.
through losses, right?
Yeah,
But for Ryan Blaney at Daytona, Dylan's right. Like Blaney probably should have won several of these. It's
that's
just
true.
like he's
It's gonna make the
having
saddest.
issues that are out of his control. While Pato
Yeah,
Award in the Indy 500, that is in his control.
yeah.
We're talking
And
about, we bring up Indy a lot, but I think it's fair.
well, it's directly comparable because to me, it's like that's how you have a 500-mile race. I'm gonna tell you what. That's how you have a 500-mile race where you have drafting and where it's on a big super speedway. That's how you do it.
Yep.
I made a tweet this morning. Imagine the Indy 500, but you slow the cars down 30 miles per hour, and the cars are all packed up, and Kyle Kirkwood sneaks in and wins after doing
Yeah.
nothing all day. That would suck. That's what
Yeah.
That's what Daytona is. So
Yep.
yeah.
I will note that Ryan Blaney is the points leader. He got the most stage points, and he
Came
did
back and finished
cover to
seventh.
seventh. Yeah,
I mean, I guess everyone else wrecked, so sure. I got the
yeah.
fantasy point.
You did get the fantasy point. We'll talk about fantasy at the end of the episode. Thank you, Dylan, for participating. This next
one's
one
gonna
is
make me mad.
from Blake. Blake says, well, Kyle Larson was a non-factor in the Daytona 500 again. Blake says, there's nothing more miserable than being a Larson fan during a super speedway race. You want nothing more than for him to win and complete the list of crown jewel wins, but he is, in all caps, never a factor or threat.
That's not true.
Thoughts, Zach?
He was up there. He was up there in 2023, Blake. Blake, he was up there in 2023. So I don't want to hear it. He was up there. He's been up there at a few Talladega races. He has gotten a lot better at this super speedway racing than you might think. But at the same time, I'm a Kyle Larson fan, and Kyle Larson hasn't won this lottery of a race. I'm going to turn the lights off. I'm going to turn the lights off on the Kyle Larson shrine. His career is over. He hasn't won the Daytona 500. I care so much about it. Like, people, Jeff Gordon said in post-race media, like, I think this is getting in Kyle Larson's head. I think the super speedway thing's just getting in his head. He said he's been making Kyle said that any move he makes is the wrong move. Dude, y'all are all thinking way too deep about it, because what you do anyways, I don't even think matters that much. You can run up front and you're still going to get wrecked. So what's the point? Do you really want to be in the mix? William Byron was not in the mix and he won the race. I mean, he was kind of in the mix, but he wasn't like in the mix. Like, he wasn't going to win if no one wrecked. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so does it matter? I don't know why y'all are so fixated on it. Like, yes, that's his last thing in NASCAR that he needs to do. I get it. I would love to see him do it one day. I think if Hendrick keeps, just doing this, they could, but I think people are making it way too big of a deal. Maybe I'm biased, but I don't care that he hasn't won the Daytona 500. Because again, we're in the dark ages. I just don't. This race shouldn't be that important to him right now.
So I'm curious what your opinion is on this, because he was close to win it in 2017. He did end up running out of fuel. How did you feel about him losing that one? Did you care too much yet?
Well, I wasn't really like he wasn't my main driver back then. Like, he was one of my faves still. Like, back then it was Dale Jr. He was still my number one, obviously. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. And it was kind of in that order. I kind of liked it because I was like, oh, well, who am I going to like after Dale Jr. retires? Chase Elliott. Why not?
Yeah.
Kyle Larson, the Kyle Larson fandom really started when I saw him win at Richmond in 2017. Because I just thought it was so cool. And I was using his car in the video games at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the target schemes were cool. It was just kind of a perfect storm. So it didn't really hurt me back then. But looking back on it, I'm like, darn.
Yeah. Yeah, because Blaney almost won that one too.
Yeah.
And for me, I was a big Blaney fan at the time already. I was like, oh my gosh, he's right there. Like that. Blaney's been so close for so long.
What an underrated 500. What an underrated 500 that was.
Yeah.
Imagine
that's
again,
the last one I fondly remember.
If fuel saving, because again, the cars aren't all stacked up against each other. So if someone ran out of fuel and they didn't start wrecking, they had time to actually avoid. He needs whatever. Anyways,
Yep.
But thanks for the comment, Blake. I anytime I get to talk about Kyle Larson, that's great, because I will say though, that talk about Kyle Larson Daytona is just so dramatic. I'm girl. So it's not in his head. It's not in his head.
This next one, we have two Patreon members talking about Legacy Motor Club, which I found interesting. Legacy Motor Club finished 3rd, 5th, and 12th in the Daytona 500. First one's from Lilith. John Hunter Nemechek is the new Corey LaJoie and Cody Ware. Discuss.
What does that even mean, though? Because to me, LaJoie and Ware are people that shouldn't even be on the Cup grid. They have no results. They have not done anything. John Hunter Nemechek, I mean, he's won Xfinity races. He's won truck races. He's a proven winner in NASCAR. I think he's just a guy like maybe Cole Custer, who should probably just be in Xfinity.
That's
right?
A better example. Yeah.
I think that's a better example. And also, again, John Hunter Nemechek's not on the best team right now. Right?
Yeah.
But we have seen his Cup career has not been that shining, I guess. So fair point.
Zach, you posted on Blue Sky during the race that Jimmy Johnson and Carson Hocevar were way in the back. And then I responded that Jimmy and Carson were doing a job interview for the 42 car. I thought that was very funny. I thought that was very funny there.
It was less funny because I'm like, Carson Hocevar would not want to go there.
I mean, he drove there before and he was doing pretty good when he filled in for Gragson.
That's true. But I don't know. Again, we talked about it last week with our episode with Tanner. So, like, what is Legacy going to improve? Like, they've only had 2 top 5s. Like, they got 2 top 5s last night. They only had 2 top 5s in the last season or last 2 seasons. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's to the point for me where it's like, I mean, cool. I'm happy for you guys. You got good results at Daytona, especially Jimmy. God.
Yeah, it's cool.
Why couldn't Jimmy win that damn race?
Well, let's talk about it, because Chris says, good finish for Jimmy Johnson. He's not a GHN fan, neither is Lilith. But good to see Legacy get 2 cars in the top 5, no matter how Mickey Mouse it was.
Yeah, true. It's good for them. It's going to give them... Oh my God, and Eric Jones got robbed on Thursday night. He should have won that race. I mean, Legacy had a pretty good weekend. Again,
But
Eric
you're
Jones
right.
should have
Is
won
that
that dual race. But
But you're right, though. Is that going to translate to the rest of the
I
tracks?
mean,
Like, I don't
it's
think
a
so.
mental boost. And we
Yeah.
saw Daniel Suarez win at Atlanta last year. I mean, hey, you put yourself in the mix. One of those cars could win next week at Atlanta.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if Jimmy Johnson won the Daytona 500, the Elio Castroneves 2021 vibes?
Oh,
That
yeah.
entire racetrack would have erupted.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been the coolest thing
And
ever.
I think if that would have happened hypothetically, I think you and I would still be very critical of this race.
But at least I'd
Because
have something to feel good about, you know?
yeah, like it would still be a feel good story, but at the same time, it's just like he
It'd
wasn't
be a
really.
lot like his last championship. It's like, did he deserve it?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
really, but he put himself in position. I know I'm kind of being hypocritical, but you know, like
yeah,
he put himself in position. He's Jimmy
yeah,
Johnson. I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
care. I don't really care,
So
dude. He's there for
thank
fun,
you,
anyways.
thank you, Chris and Lilith, for those comments. This last one. So, if you watch Fox pre-race, you know that the president was in attendance for the Daytona 500, and Phil, our most recent Patreon sub as of recording, wanted to know how Zach and I were doing. He said he was thinking about us during the race. He didn't watch pre-race stuff, but it was hard hearing about how eager drivers and owners were to fawn over the president. How did you both hold up with all of that?
Well, my thing is, I don't really care if the drivers and stuff are eager to. We're NASCAR, by the way, a Southern sport. Like, as much as we want to change the identity, let's realize who's still in the sport. You still have teams like 2311 who are more, do I say liberal leaning? Because I mean,
I'd say progressive-ish.
progressive.
Yeah.
That's a better word. Yeah, the progressive, like, you know. So we still have, you know, areas that have improved a lot. But yeah, Richard Childress, yeah, he's gonna go shake hands with Trump. Who else? Like, none of that stuff really bothers me, especially
No,
after
me
2020. I've
neither.
kind of been able to separate um myself from whatever my drivers believe politically or otherwise. You just kind of have to as a NASCAR fan sometimes.
Hmm.
I understand if you don't want to. I get it. But you know, Alex, the thing is, I'm looking forward to this all weekend. This is my escape. The world's kind of crazy right now. Life is a lot worse for some people. They just want to watch some cars go in circles and racing,
Hmm.
and you know, the I get it because it's the sitting president, and having the president at a NASCAR race. When you look at that on paper, is that a big deal? Yes. If the president is at a NASCAR race, that is a big deal. Just
Yep.
technically, it is.
Hmm.
With context, it's a little uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's very uncomfortable.
The
Yeah.
constant, and I feel like they didn't do this in 2020. They were so
No.
up. They were so just constant. Oh, Trump's here. Air Force One. Trump.
So
And like, yeah.
I think with a lot of that, it just goes back to what you said, like Richard Childress, like like we're in an interesting era for politics and just in general. And I think it can be really easy for people to feel like it's doomsday every day, and understandably so. But I would recommend like take a deep breath. Don't look at your phone for a
I
minute or a
mean,
couple of days if you can.
we
And
said
that
this in
doesn't,
November. Surround yourself with people
yeah,
that make you
surround
happy.
yourself with a community. Like I
Yes.
hang out with Zach like if I'm feeling sad about something, I'll text Zach like, "Do you want to hang out?"
And I
Like,
say, no, I'm busy. No, actually, I'm
no,
doing iRacing. Sorry.
that's a lie. A lot of times you hang out with me, but
I do.
or it's like just hang out with people, find a community, and I think that's something that what we have done, Zach, is on Blue Sky on Thursday night, I made a post and I had people in my comments, one with a pride flag, one with a trans flag, debating about NASCAR or just discussing things that happen in NASCAR. That is so cool.
Look at you, little
And,
queers, talking about stupid NASCAR. I love it.
but stuff like that is very motivating for me. And it's like, no matter what, we're not going to be silenced. We're not going to go away.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, as so you have to keep fighting back and doing things like what Michael Klein did, a former guest of the podcast. He was at the Daytona 500. He was wearing the NASCAR Pride shirt. He had a NASCAR Pride hat on, posted it to social media. Like stuff like that. Stuff like that is symbolic, and you're fighting back in a way. Like
That's the whole point of Pride.
It's showing
I
your
mean,
pride no matter what.
no matter, I mean, pride is more important now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cliche. Now more than ever.
But it's true.
But it's true though. Now more than ever, pride is important. I mean, I don't know if you feel this way, Alex. I feel more responsibility ever since November.
Yeah,
I've just felt more responsibility with this podcast, and just personally with myself, just advocating for myself, or just being pride, and I mean, I could go into it, but I don't really want to. But
And thank you to Phil for asking us this question. Like, I think you and I are doing fine, Zach. Like, it's not a comfortable time to be living through.
Yeah, I'm thankful with my situation. I definitely have privilege. Like, I'm very comfortable with it.
Do.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for that every damn day. Like, I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoy, especially as I get older. I'm like, I enjoy the peace that I am able to have. I can go to work, I can go home, and I just repeat the cycle, and nothing really keeps me from doing that. It's nice.
So I guess we'll end this on, and by the way, we kept this for the end because if you're watching this long, we know you actually like us. Thank you for.
We should have opened the episode with it.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have gone.
We would have gotten angry comments, and the engagement goes up, and then blah blah blah. And we could have started the episode. We should have started the episode off really sad. There's a travesty today, and they don't even know if we're going to talk about the race or about the president. Anyways.
But I will end on just keep up the fight. Like, keep being you. Don't let anything stop you.
I still get butterflies when I see people with pride flags and stuff talking about racing. I'm like, oh my God, there's another gay person talking about racing. Girl, you've been doing a podcast for like 5 years. Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like,
it's not just Zack and I. What?
Like, oh my God, there's actually people. Girl, have you checked our listeners lately? Yeah, there's at least I know not all y'all gay.
Some of y'all are allies.
Some of y'all. I'm an ally.
But yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you for participating in the Patreon mailbag. You can do it again for Atlanta. We're gonna try posting it Sunday nights. Zach actually reminded me last night.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/gayracingpod. And now we're gonna kind of breeze through here. We have some tea, and we talked about Fox Sports here and there, but I do want to actually give a shout out. Not quite a Slay of the Week. I don't think they deserve that.
Well, there's not a lot of slays to give this week. I have a lot in my pocket. Can I give one?
Sure.
I haven't had a slay to give. I have not given a single slay this whole episode. There's been nowhere to give it. I will give a slay of the week to Fox Sports because they massively improved the commercials. Massively.
Yep.
Because 93% of the race was actually broadcasted. That is a huge deal.
Just last year, only 80% of the race broadcast. This is all per J-Ski. They keep track of all the commercials every week.
I mean, last year, I noticed it before you even looked up and brought up the stat. Like, I noticed that while watching the race.
Me too.
Like, oh my God, we're not cutting the commercial every 5 laps, right?
I was not annoyed about the commercials at all.
No, exactly.
I don't think I felt like that watching the Daytona 500 ever.
And that makes me happy. I don't know. Yeah. Is it part of the new TV deal, do you think? Because of the money?
This is the first race of the new TV deal.
It must be. Because that makes me happy. Because again, motorsports, they're not football games. It's hard to... Yes, you have to have commercials. But man, I remember the TurboTax commercial because I was looking at the screen, watching that box with the cars. And like, I feel like people are more engaged with side-by-side commercials because they're still looking at the TV, right?
Yeah.
I'm more likely to go to the bathroom if it's a full screen commercial.
Oh, yeah.
But if there's a side-by-side commercial, I'm more likely to stay glued to my TV. I don't know if there's science behind that, but like, I feel like that's got to be kind of true, right?
Yeah.
I hope somehow we can get it to a place where it's like, we don't miss a single green flag lap. That'd be great because F1 can do it. And side-by-side commercials, those are fine. I am completely fine. If you want to spam those, I get it.
It's almost like they need more segments, like when Toyota sponsored the segment where they were like, Toyota All In, I think they called it. and
Yeah.
they had a Toyota logo in the corner the entire time.
Yeah. Whatever.
And there's like they're sponsoring this whole segment of the race. Like I think things like that could be kind of cool.
Remember the Dale Jr. segment?
The Dale Jr. Performance Report? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
The
Oh my
Nationwide
God.
Insurance? Yeah.
Having an entire segment on just one driver every week. That was I didn't realize how ridiculous it was at the time, but looking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that just for Dale Jr.
I rewatched the 2015 Daytona 500 on Tubi last week. I was rewatching some races on there. That they went to that several times. It was very amusing. One more note on this: there were more than double side-by-side ad breaks this year versus 2024. Last year there were 6, and there were 15 this year.
It must be the new TV deal.
It must be. I'm hoping that this is also how NBC is going to be, because NBC low key has been worse with ads. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I think so. I think they've had more ads.
I don't remember,
but maybe I'm wrong on that. But that'll be interesting.
I will say, and again, Fox wasn't perfect. Like I could nitpick. What happened? There was they had that Kyle Busch that they went like big screen Kyle Busch with like the him talking about what it means to win Daytona 500 when it was like 20 to go or something. And
they also did a full screen of everything Penske's done in the last few years while Penske was leading the Daytona 500. That was full screen. You couldn't even see the cars.
The outside lanes were creeping up. I'm like, that's not how you do it, dude.
Yeah.
Like CW did it pretty good. I mean, because I feel like CW, they split screened everything all the time.
CW was awesome on their debut. That was
awesome. Is that even in our doc? But I mean, we don't really got to talk about much. That was really good. CW was really good. The actual driver pictures look nice. They had him at they said,
yeah.
Those are the pictures. Like Jesse Love.
Harrison you said Burton. Jesse Love slayed in his. And I was
Jesse Love absolutely ate. I love him. Love wins. I posted Love wins on Blue Sky, and someone said, only if you fight for it. I was like, babe, this is about NASCAR. Love wins.
We're not talking about reality right now.
Jesse Love. I love him. Oh my God, I love him so much.
He's funny on TikTok, by the way. Fun TikTok follow, Jesse Love.
That's what we need. That fills my cup. Him and Connor Zilish, they fill my cup.
And they're like besties.
They are so cute.
That's cute.
And I don't mean that in any weird way. They are just so cute. I don't know why. They're just like two little kids. They're like, do you want to play at my house? Okay. Okay. Like that's the vibe they give. And I love it.
Yeah. 2 more things in the tea, then we'll get into fantasy. Pitbull is out as owner of Trackhouse.
That's weird.
This came out of nowhere. It was announced Sunday morning.
Days. Right? I thought it was it Sunday? No, I feel like it was Saturday morning.
It might have been Saturday morning.
I think it was Saturday morning. Days before the biggest race of the year.
And then he's performing the pre-race show at Daytona.
Yeah, that's odd. It's a little odd to me, not gonna lie.
I imagine they've known because they've been doing a bit of a rebrand in the off season.
True.
I think they've known. I have to wonder if maybe they told Pitbull, like, hey, Daniel Suarez is probably getting cut this year because Connor Zilish is probably going to be our guy next year. And he's like, okay, I'm out. And that doesn't mean Pitbull and Daniel Suarez are like linked, but they have a lot of similar business partners, Suarez and Pitbull.
It makes
Pitbull
sense.
really came in because of Suarez, like heavily with. So that's something to follow. I think Suarez absolutely needs to just have a breakthrough season, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that'd be man. I wish we would have discussed that last week. Drivers on the hot seat because Daniel Suarez is number one. He is on the hot seat. Absolutely. Also, another thing to know about Trackhouse, while we're talking about them, has there ever been a NASCAR Cup team that had 4 cars in a race and each driver is from a different country?
That's cool.
That was so cool. That was the coolest thing ever. I'm like, oh my God, like. Talk about how progressive NASCAR can get. That's progressive.
That's cool.
That is so cool. You have an American, a New Zealander, a Kiwi, a Brazilian, and a Mexican all racing on the same team. That is so cool to me. That's very cool. If NASCAR grows its international presence, Trackhouse has to have some kind of credit. Yeah, that's so cool.
And now this last thing in the tea, last sip of tea, NASCAR and the NFL are set to discuss the NFL's desire to have the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, which of course is when the Daytona 500 traditionally is. The
Girl.
NFL has been eyeing another week to add to their
Yes.
season. So that's where this would kind of happen.
Okay. So who has the power here?
If
Because
you want to base
NASCAR.
it off, if
It's
you
not
want to
NASCAR.
ask the TV ratings, the
not NASCAR.
sponsors,
What the hell?
it's the NFL.
What the hell? What do they think they're going to get out of this? Like, maybe they're... Listen, if it's like... Because what's probably going to happen, the NFL is going to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
If this is so NASCAR can know exactly what's going to happen now so that they can get ready and plan for it, maybe that's what it's for. That must be what it's for.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that you have the Daytona 500 on the Pro Bowl weekend? You know what I mean? Like the weekend before. So just switch. Literally just switch. Right?
They switch and then NASCAR has an off.
And then it's the weekend after the Clash. Now, if they're traveling to Brazil, I don't know how that's going to work.
Right.
But, or do you, I don't know. It's funny though, because, yeah, and I guess you can have an off week or just do like a Saturday night race at Atlanta. Why not?
Maybe.
Why not? Or just Sunday afternoon, just do it at noon.
Maybe but then if it gets rain,
yeah, I don't know if you want to play with that.
Maybe Coda moves up, because Coda's race 3 now, by the way.
Maybe Coda?
That'd be maybe Coda? Is it they can race in the rain there?
Maybe. That'd be kind of fun.
Doesn't have lights.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever they do, I got frustrated this weekend because I was like, they need to bring the qualifying weekend back somehow. I don't know how they should do it, but and like, oh, they can't qualify on the same day as the Super Bowl. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
We raced on Easter. We can qualify at noon on the day of the Super Bowl.
I think that'd be fine. And it was, I mean, I guess Fox pre-game for the Super Bowl starts like really early in the day.
Yeah,
I was gonna say you could have it on Fox as a lead-in, but like people would be looking for something to watch.
Yeah,
many
it's not
people
on
do not
Fox
watch
every year
pregame
anyways.
Yeah, true.
If it's on Fox for that year, then do something different. Maybe qualifying it like 10 a.m. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see, because I think it is an option to just have Daytona before the Super Bowl, and then that second weekend, dude, just race on Saturday night. Yeah, the ratings might not be as good, but dude, just at least, get Daytona sorted. Make sure Daytona's on its own weekend. And then, you know what? If Atlanta, people are going to watch Atlanta. It's a super speedway. People are going to go watch it. If it's on Saturday night, people will watch it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Interesting to see how that'll end up playing out.
Yeah.
So now we'll enter fantasy. Zach, as you said earlier, you did get the point with Ryan Blaney getting 7th. I had Keselowski at 26. Not really a factor, Keselowski. I was kind of surprised by that.
He got like
in that
last back. He was coming his way back up, but he wasn't as fast as someone like Logano.
He got up to like 17th or 13th, somewhere in the teens.
Yeah, because he was hanging out in the back. I don't know if he had like damage.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really get damage. He didn't really get damage. He just like hit the apron. So I don't know. I don't know. He just didn't have track position, and I wonder if that was on purpose or not.
Yeah.
Probably just, again, unlucky.
So
definitely, yeah.
Let's talk about NASCAR at Atlanta. Next week's episode, our friend Brooke Curran plans to be here. If all goes according to plan, she will be here. She's one of our annual guests we always have. Love Brooke. That's going to be so fun. She is going to Atlanta, so it'll be fun.
That will be
kind of talk about her experience going to that. But Zach, we're going to make our picks. I go first, right? Because
you. Well, no, I thought isn't it because you don't have the points lead? That's how we're doing it.
We'll figure it out. Either way, I will go first. We'll figure.
I know. I'm pretty sure. Didn't we have to go back? Didn't we figure this out in our texts? We handshake. We virtual handshaked.
Yeah, we virtually handshook with the emoji. I forgot.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure it's because I have the points lead, so you pick first.
Okay. Well,
I guess.
Either way, I'm going with Ryan Blaney for Atlanta.
I had a feeling you would do that. Honestly,
I think he's been the best there. I think he'll finally get another win there.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Austin Cindric.
That is a great pick.
Not going to lie,
Yeah.
I was going to pick Blaney again.
Mm.
So, hey. Our system's working, I guess. Logano, I think Logano is going to be a little bit mentally kind of like he's going to be really good, but I think he's going to. I don't know. I don't see him winning Atlanta back to back for some reason. Austin Cindric, he really impressed me. I mean, he won his dual race technically.
And by the way, Cindric did not have to do that. He qualified on the front row. Chase Briscoe won the pole and parked his car.
I forgot about that. I forgot that he actually qualified on the front row and still won his duel. Like,
yeah,
he had a fast car. And Penske, and I think Cindric learned a lot from last year's Atlanta race where he ran up front. And then he got behind on the handling. He got behind on adjustments, and then he couldn't keep up with his teammates. Yeah. Oh my God. I love Atlanta. People, when they moved Atlanta to the second date, they thought it was going to be, oh, I want more super speedway racing. Yay, Atlanta. No, this is what super speedway racing should look like. That's what it is for me.
It's going to be a lot better than Daytona.
I already know what next week's episode is going to be about. This is better than Daytona. This is how we race this. I mean, we say it every Atlanta episode. It's going to be a great race because handling actually matters.
And we were very apprehensive to the idea of super speedway Atlanta. I still think it should be Texas, but we're too fast past that now. But,
it is what it is.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll see if it wore out anymore over the winter and what that could do to the racing. I'm excited because it can't. Listen, it's going to be a race at least, and it'll probably be a good race. So I'm excited. It's going to be great.
Well, let's wrap this episode up in a nice, pretty bow because we have 3 kind comments.
A lot of nice people out and about.
So this first one is from Wonkrot, who gave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. He said, "Fantastic fan base coverage. This podcast is a pure fan's perspective. There's no concern about irritating NASCAR, sponsors, or drivers, but also no particular grudges or agendas." I would argue against that. Sometimes Zack says some crazy things on here.
I mean, I definitely have an agenda.
Yeah.
Like, fix the super speedway package. Like, I definitely get rid of the playoffs. I have an agenda.
But no particular agenda, just a love for the sport. See, Zack? Your agenda is the love for the sport.
To be fair, I do flip-flop on my opinion sometimes. Like, the playoffs. I'm like, some years I'm like, oh, the playoffs are kind of cool. And then some years I'm like, this sucks.
Wonkrot continues saying they are particularly good at explaining some of racing sports' quirkier rules and situations, really much better than many sportscasters and drivers do. That's a...
Girl,
thank you. Wow.
If they can put Jamie McMurray and Parker Kligerman's sassy little selves in the CW booth, what's stopping me and Alex from being in the CW booth?
No, for real, though. Give us a shot.
I mean, we basically are Parker and Jamie, so...
They continued that they found the podcast in mid-24, but it's a must-listen every week now after every race. It's a pleasure to listen to a couple guys just having fun with motorsports. Highly recommend. Thanks so much. We're having fun?
I don't know if we had fun today. I don't know if you're going to like today's episode. No, we had fun.
I had fun.
I didn't have fun last night.
Now, Taekwon Holloman and 4209 and Nike Visor 54 both enjoyed Tanner Smith as our guest in our 25 predictions episode. Go check that out if you haven't yet. That was a very fun episode with Tanner.
God, I gotta look. And did I say that William Byron was going to have a slump year again? Because I said that
we were
last year. I said he wasn't going to win a race last year, and then he won the Daytona 500. And I'm pretty sure. Where's William Byron? I can't see it. Slump year. Where is it? There it is. Slump year. I think I just said he was going to have a slump year.
You called it a slump year. Yep.
What? And then he went to the Daytona 500 again. Like, what are we doing?
You need to stop saying Byron's going to suck. You need to say he's going to win every race or something.
Oh my God. And I'm the number one William Byron hater. I will always be the number one William Byron hater. I can't with this dude. This little baby. I can't with him.
But thank you, Taekwon and Nike Visor 54 for your kind comments about Tanner. Definitely check that out if you haven't watched or listened to that episode yet. Thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Patreon mailbag's a lot of fun. Love that new segment this year. Patreon.com/GayRacingPod if you want to be a part of it and support us. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. We'll read, as we did tonight with Runkrot, the 5-star Apple reviews. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. We gained like 10 subscribers on YouTube this week. That's a pretty good week.
It is pretty
Uh,
good.
and on our socials are at Gay Racing Pod, at Dreamy Zack Racing, and at New Gaiden. Gay Racing Pod is on TikTok. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, kind of. Yeah, really loving Blue Sky. Blue Sky was really good. First NASCAR race, like proper.
Yeah, I've been on both. I've been on both Twitter and Blue Sky because I miss my people that are still on Twitter, and I understand why you are still on Twitter. I really do because also I hate not seeing drivers on my like feed on Blue Sky.
I'm good. I'm chill.
I just got to get in the habit of checking both and posting on both. I don't know. I still am trying to figure out a rhythm.
I didn't open Twitter once the entire Daytona 500.
I cannot say the same. Also, Alex, do you smell that? I smell IndyCar. They're not coming back next week, but
she's coming close. She's getting near.
It's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
St. Pete.
First weekend of March.
They're coming.
St. Pete.
So I don't know, because we're gonna have our IndyCar like off-season catch up. We're having that like at the St. Pete episode, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
So next week's just gonna be about Atlanta. Unless Atlanta's really boring, then maybe we'll shove IndyCar in there. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so next week we're gonna talk about Atlanta. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you guys so much for listening to our Daytona 500 episode. We will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.